I'm telling you, it might be hard to believe with everything we've seen, but yesterday was the wildest conference realignment day ever. We have three conferences involved here, including the Pac 12, and they are going after each other with decisions being made left and right and updates every single hour into the early morning hours here of Tuesday. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk college football conference realignment all day, every day. If you want to be the smartest college football fan in your group text, make sure you click subscribe and get signed up for the channel. It's crazy right now. Reading Ross Dellinger's reporting as I was about to come on and do this for you today, we got another update about what is going on between the Pac 12 and the Mountain West. And frankly, I think a lot of this has played out very poorly for the Pac 12. I will tell you why, but it is a wild war that we have going on between multiple conferences right now. Let's start with more of what happened yesterday. So the Pac 12, according to Ross Dellinger here, is pivoting west. Pac 12 leaders are mobilizing in pursuit of more expansion members after a group of AAC schools decided to turn down the league's interest to join. The conference, being the Pac 12, has already received a commitment from Utah State and sent UNLV an offer to join the league, sources tell Yahoo Sports. So the Pac 12 is now at 7. They brought in 4 schools from the Mountain West to go with Oregon State and Washington State before all of this. They've gotten a commitment now from Utah State, and they are trying to get UNLV, who suddenly is the linchpin in everything. It went from Memphis being the linchpin in all of conference realignment to now UNLV. They can either kill the Mountain West by joining the Pac 12 or keep the Mountain West alive and deal a tough blow to the Pac 12, which has already lost all of its AAC targets. Leaders of the Pac 12, according to Dellinger, as well as its consulting firm Navigate, met late into Monday night over the potential options for expansion after they got turned down by Memphis, Tulane, South Florida, and UTSA. They all opted to stay put in the AAC. The Pac 12 continues to hold conversations with basketball powers Gonzaga and UConn and is evaluating other options, though UNLV remains the top target. So a lot to sort through here. One, Memphis, Tulane, South Florida, UTSA, to me, and I think to most, were the best candidates on the board there, obviously from the AAC. And it sounds like money was the biggest hangup with all of that, namely the exit fees, which were expected to be around $25 million from the AAC if those schools were going to leave for the Pac 12. Now, the Pac 12 has a war chest full of money that they can use for this, but apparently deemed that it would be too expensive to do that. Plenty of different numbers flying around as to what specifically those numbers would be, but it sounded like the Pac 12 would have covered a minimal portion of that exit fee. And on the other side, the AAC schools wanted a lot more taken care of. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody thinks this was a slam dunk decision. For instance, on the Memphis front, Gary Parrish, who is one of the most popular radio hosts in Memphis, had this to say, update, Memphis has apparently passed on the chance to be in a football league with Boise State and Washington State and a basketball league with Gonzaga and San Diego State to remain in the AAC that has already lost 7 of its original 10 members. He would go on to say, you should figure out a way to do the exit fee and go anyway. But Memphis decided to stay, and that is why Tulane, South Florida, and UTSA decided to stay. Memphis held a ton of the cards there. Now, you also heard Gary Parrish mention that Gonzaga would be in the Pac 12. There was a moment yesterday where we thought they were in the Pac 12. Brett McMurphy, who is typically Nails, reported that Gonzaga was joining the Pac 12. That was quickly refuted by many reporters, John Rothstein, John Canzano, and now Ross Dellinger here is telling you they are talking to the Pac 12, but it has not been decided. That is not anything that is official yet. And the crazy part of the report from McMurphy, too, was that it would have been for a full share. So there's a lot going on. This, again, all happened in the span of 24 hours yesterday. So right now, you have the Mountain West in a race with the Pac 12 to try and secure UNLV. Dellinger says, however, the clock is ticking. The Mountain West is in a proverbial sprint to secure its membership with financial incentives, much of which come from the exit and expected penalty fees owed to the league from the schools that left for the Pac 12. That's about $120 million. So the crazy part of this is, remember, when the Pac 12 originally decided to grab 4 schools from the Mountain West, they wanted to expand in phases. So they didn't go get UNLV. And there was a lot of question about why not. There was a lot of discussion about that. Now that may actually hurt the Pac 12 here because the money that is coming in from the exit fees of the four that have already left is going to be used to try and sweeten the pot to keep a school like UNLV around. The Mountain West is proposing a tiered distribution of wealth with each member receiving a financial boost. Air Force has already signed an agreement with the league, though that is now in question. So, see, we had a report yesterday that Air Force was going to stay in the Mountain West, but it's now being courted by both the Pac 12 and the AAC. So that's all up in the air. If it stays in the Mountain West, Air Force is expected to receive a signing bonus of at least $10 million. UNLV also expected to receive a similar financial bonus if they stay. But then we got this update early this morning from Ross Dellinger. It says the Mountain West went from surviving with its 8 football members yesterday together in a binding grant of rights to now on the brink of a complete dissolution, collapse, essentially. The Pac-12's rebuilding effort could ultimately result in the destruction of its sister conference if UNLV accepts its offer to join. That's because it would trigger a domino effect that would lead to the league dissolving, presumably including the elimination of exit fees and other penalties for the members departing the conference. So now, if you're one of the first 4 teams that left from the Mountain West to the Pac-12, you could be looking at the elimination of exit fees if the conference ceases to exist. And this is a lot of what was talked about with the ACC, right? If enough schools left, all of that would go away because the conference would just totally collapse. As Tuesday arrives, Dellinger says, attention is on a decision from UNLV, a school thrust into the heart of this realignment madness, the potential linchpin in a fight between the Pac-12 and Mountain West. Pretty simple. The Mountain West would have 7 schools. You need 8 if UNLV were to leave. And that is a huge part of why they are at the center of all of this. Memphis, Tulane, USF, UTSA deciding not to go. A little bit more on that. The 4 AAC programs received proposed terms from the Pac-12 that included projected annual revenue numbers, $10 to $15 million, a 5-year grant of rights, and only partial coverage of an AAC exit fee that is expected to be around $25 million per school. That, again, comes from Ross Dellinger. And, again, we don't have an official number here on how much would have been covered of that exit fee, but $25 million is quite a bit. But you have those around Memphis, like Gary Parrish, who would say that that was foolish. They should have just done it and joined the better football conference anyway. What is seemingly happened here, the Pac-12 is definitely not going to get the most attractive version of the conference that they possibly could. And I think there's definitely a case to be made that they should have just gone ahead and paid the money to bring all those schools in if you're talking about trying to get the best TV deal out there. But there are also those who would push back and say that a lot of the data actually doesn't support that there's a ton of difference between like Utah State, UNLV, and those 4 schools that we already mentioned from the AAC. Even a Memphis, who was believed to be the top expansion target left on the board in this tier. So there's debate on both sides. But what you're going to get is potentially the Mountain West dying and the Pac-12 surviving with a weaker version of what it could have possibly been. It does not feel like any of this is really good for hardly anybody involved, but this is what we get with conference realignment. Yes, it is on a smaller scale in that it's not involving the SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, or the Big 12, but it's so emblematic of what has been happening with all of these different conferences throughout the sport in just a mad rush for money as everybody tries to figure out how to essentially revenue share now with student athletes. It's not a great state. I do not think a lot of this is sustainable, but it is crazy. It is intriguing. And certainly that's why we're here talking about it. So stay tuned. I will keep you up to date. We will definitely talk about this some on the live show that is coming up on Wednesday. If you're new to the channel, I go live on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. So make sure you get tuned in for that. They are a ton of fun with people from all around the college football world. So click subscribe if you want to be the smartest college football fan in your group chat. And stay tuned here to the channel. Like the video. Leave me a comment. What do you think? Is the Pac-12 in trouble here? What should UNLV do? Do you care if the Mountain West does go away? Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you soon.